Welcome to the demonstration for migrating PST files, locate and migrate PST migration. This demonstration reinforces the concepts covered in Lesson 13 of the Enterprise Vault 10 for Exchange Administration course. In this demonstration, we will perform a locate and migrate PST file migration. In previous demonstrations, we did a PST migration preparation and a client-driven migration, which is usually the most convenient method where the PST files are held locally on the client machines. In this demonstration, we will use the locate and migrate method, which is the best method to use to find PST files that are spread across many servers and clients. And in the next demonstration, you will use a wizard-based PST migration for importing a PST file created using the PST export wizard. In this demonstration, we will use the locate and migrate method to find and then migrate PST files. This method uses three different tasks. The PST locator task finds the PST files on the servers and the clients. The PST collector task collects the PST files from the servers and clients and places them in the PST holding folder ready for migration. And then the PST migrator task migrates the files that it finds in the PST holding folder. We're going to start off on our Enterprise Vault server, Server 2, and we want to go and create the PST locator task. So I'll go ahead and expand my Enterprise Vault servers, expand my EV server, which is Server 2, select my tasks, and you can see we've already got the PST migrator task created, and it is processing because we have it scheduled to run 24 hours a day, and we use that in our client-driven migration. So that's already set up and ready to go. So what we need to do is to start off with our PST locator task. So we'll go ahead and right-click on Tasks and say that we wish to create a new and then PST locator task. When the new PST locator task dialog box opens up, it asks for a name, and we can just use the PST locator task since we're only going to have one. We'll go ahead and mark the option to start the new task now, and then we can go ahead and click OK. Now you can see we have the PST locator task, and it is running. We want to go ahead and have the PST locator task run now. So I just double-clicked on it, and it opens up the Run Now option here. And I want to start off searching for new domains. So I'll click on Search for New Domain. And then we'll go ahead and click OK. And it says the PST locator task has started processing. And you come up here and see under the status that it has a start pending. I'll go ahead and click OK. And this time the task ran so quickly that I didn't get to see the processing option there. It just went right straight to running. So now what we want to do is go and look at the properties associated with the task to see what domains it did find. So we'll select the PST locator task, and then we'll select the properties. And we were telling it to look for domains, so we'll go to the Domains tab. And you can see that it did find our domain, which is named example. So I'll go ahead and place a mark in front of the example domain, which is the one that we wish to search for. And then we'll go ahead and click OK. It says some changes to the task property do not take effect until it's restarted. So I'll go ahead and click OK to acknowledge that. And now we want to have it go out because it knows what domain to search and find the computers that are in that domain. So we'll go ahead and right-click on the PST locator task, select our Run Now option again, and you can see it's already got Search for New Computers highlighted. So I don't have to change anything. I just go ahead and click OK. It says it has started processing. Again, you can see there is a start pending here. I go ahead and click OK, and I switched over to the Personal Store Management section here so that we can see what computers it is going to be able to find. So if I expand my Personal Store Management, and then I click on my computers, you can see it has found the client computers. But I know there's more computers out there that it should be finding. Maybe it just hasn't found them all yet. So I'll go ahead and click my refresh. And sure enough, it has found all four of our computers that are in our domain, which is our client, our domain controller and SQL Server, our Exchange server, which is Server 1, and Server 2. Now, what we know is that we have some of the PST files on the client machine, and we also have some PST files on Server 1. So we have to tell the properties of these two computers that when the locator service runs, that we want to search these two computers. So we'll start with the client machine. We'll go ahead and open that up and select the properties. And we'll see that we have an option to search this computer when the PST locator task runs. So I'll go ahead and click that checkbox. And then I can go ahead and click OK. And then I want to do the same thing for server 1. And again, this is because I know I have PST files on that server. Once again, I place the check mark on the computer when the task runs. Click OK. And now we're ready to have the PST locator task actually find the PST files. So we'll go back up to our tasks again. We'll select our PST locator task. And from our PST locator task, we'll go ahead and select the Run Now. And we'll tell it that we want it to do a registry search, so we'll mark that. And we also want to do a hard disk search on the machines to find the PST files. So we'll place a mark there. And then we can go ahead and click OK. It says that the task has started processing. Again, I see my start pending up here under status. I go ahead and click OK. And this time we actually caught it processing before it went back to running again. So we're going to go ahead and go down to the personal store management section and look at the files that it's found. Again, I know that there's more PST files out there. So again, it was processing when I first came here. So after I give it a little period of time, which has been compressed for the demonstration here, I can go ahead and do a refresh, and it has found my PST files that are in my demonstration environment. So we've got Diana Palmer's, which has already been migrated when we did the earlier demonstration showing a client-side migration. And then we've got G. Smith's, H. Burton, J. Chen, our administrative account, N. Kapoor, P. Riley, and F. Shiva. And what happens here is the fact that it tries to map it, as we talked about in the lesson, to the individual mailbox. And it was able to do that for the Diane Palmer, which it had done in an earlier migration, but also did it for the H. Burton, because we were currently logged on as H. Burton on that machine. But the other PST files are not correctly mapped to the correct Exchange mailbox. So we need to go and change that. So I'll go ahead and open the properties of the PST file. And once the properties open up, I will then have an option to change the destination archive and to change the mailbox. So I'm going to change the destination archive first, so I'll click my Browse button for that. They are all in the Information Management Vault store, so I'll expand that. And then this is G. Smith, which corresponds to Graham Smith in our list. So I select Graham Smith, click OK. And it gives me a prompt that says that the selected archive is not the archive for the currently selected mailbox. Would you like me to go ahead and change that for you? And sure, we'd like to change that. So we'll say OK. And now you can see that the mailbox is set up for Graham Smith, and also the archive is set up for Graham Smith as well. We want to change the migration from Do Not Migrate to Ready to Copy. So I changed that to Ready to Copy, and now I can click OK. And just to save the time for the demonstration purposes here, instead of going through that step for all the different mailboxes, we'll just go ahead and come down to Shiva Kumar's PST file. And you can see now that Graham Smith is correctly mapped. Harry Burton is correctly mapped. That was done already for us. Joe Chen is now correctly mapped. We're not going to migrate the administrator account, so we didn't have to remap that. And it was already correctly mapped anyway. And then we got Nita Kapoor, Pat Riley, and Vijay Sharma are all set up, and they're all ready to copy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at some of the log files here before we actually start the PST collector task to run. So I'll go ahead and I'll open up my Windows Explorer. And you can see when we open up Windows Explorer that in the PST holding folder there's nothing in there yet. We'll come back and look at that as part of the collector process to see if anything does show up in the PST holding folder. But to see our log files, we need to navigate to the Enterprise Vault installation directory and the reports folder. So I'll select my program files x86, open up Enterprise Vault, and then I can scroll down to get to my reports folder. I open up my reports folder, And you can see that I've got PST LOC tasks, and those are the PST locator tasks that are running. And then it has the server that I ran the task on, and then there's a date timestamp. So let's go ahead and open up one of them here. And this is the first one that I ran, and you can see that this one here was the one that actually went out and found our domain name. So it says the DNS domain name is example.com, and it finished its processing. So that was the one that we ran to find the domain. So if I go ahead and close that one, come down and open up the one that I ran to find the computers. And you can see that it does start up to find the computers, and it does a search the registries, the hard disks, and it added the computers. Here's DC SQL Server 1, Server 2. And again, it already had the client in the list because we had done a client-driven PST migration in an earlier demonstration. And if I go ahead and just scroll down, it says that it did finish populating our list and has finished its processing. So I'll go ahead and close that log file. And then I can open up the log file that's going to do the actual PST migration. So when I open that file up, you can see it starts searching the registry, starts searching the hard disks. It's looking for the client starting up and the search starting for the client and server 1 there for doing the search. It says it has completed the search to find all the PST files, and it's got a list of the PST files that it found. So I'll go ahead and close that log file. And now we're ready to actually create the PST collector task. So I'll go ahead and minimize my Windows Explorer. And then back in my Vault Administration Console, I'll go back to my tasks. And again, we're creating a new task that we haven't created yet. So I'll go ahead and right-click on my tasks and select New. And this time we're creating a PST collector task. And you can see that we have a name for the collector task. And then we can go ahead and say that we wish to start this task now. And then we go ahead and click OK. And then we go ahead and tell the system to just run the task right now. So we'll select our PST collector task. Click on task, then we select our PST collector task. And then we select Run Now. And it asks us if we're sure that we want to run the PST collector task now. So we go ahead and say yes. And it says it has started processing. And again, if I come up under the status, I can see that the start is pending. I go ahead and click OK, and I can see that the task is processing. Now what I'd like to do is go and look and see if I'm getting those files moved into the PST holding folder. So I'll open up my Windows Explorer, and I can see that I do have those files located here, and it just gives them a name that's meaningful to the system for doing the migration, not really meaningful to us as to whose PST belongs to whom. And they're going to be in there, and what should happen is that as it gets done doing the migration, it starts deleting them out, and for some reason, it seems that copy 8 is staying in the PST folder. So we'll have to try to see if we can figure out why that is staying in the PST folder. So let's go ahead and go back to the Vault Administration Console. So I'll minimize my Windows Explorer. And I want to go and look at the file status here. So I'll click on Files. And the status hasn't changed yet, so we'll do a refresh. And when we get a refresh, we can see that everything completed with the exception of Jay Chen's PST file. So that copy 8 must belong to Jay Chen. Well, now we want to try to figure out why did not Jay Chen's PST file correctly get migrated from the client to the mailbox for Joe Chen there. So we'll go back to our Windows Explorer again. And we need to navigate to our reports folder. So we'll go to our programs file, x86, open up Enterprise Vault folder again, scroll down to get to our reports folder, and open up our reports folder. And you can see that I have the PST collector task, so that's the actual collector task itself. So we'll see if there was a problem with the collection. So we'll go ahead and open that up. And we can see that it did successfully collect all the files that we were trying to migrate. And again, that makes sense to us because we saw copy 8 in the PST holding file. So it wasn't a collection problem as such. It must have been a migration problem. So we'll go ahead and close this PST collector task report and go down and find the PST migration task that ran. And when we open this up, we can see that the migration of J. Chen's PST file says the PST is password, and it's cut off a little bit here on the window, but it is password protected. And if I go ahead and scroll down to the bottom, I can see everybody else was successfully migrated. So that just means that Joe Chen had a password on his PST file, and we need to go and specify that password in order to allow the migration to complete. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and close the migration task report, and we'll minimize our Windows Explorer. And we'll open up the properties of J. Chen's PST, select our properties, and we'll go over to the Settings tab, because the Settings tab is where the password is specified. We'll select that it is PST password protected, and then we'll enter the password and confirm the password. And then we'll go ahead and click our Apply button here. And now that it's applied that password, we'll go back to our General tab, and we'll change it from Migration Failed to Ready to Migrate. That tells the migration task that when it's running, to go ahead and migrate that PST file. So I go ahead and click OK, and you can see that the status has gone to Ready to Migrate. If I do a refresh, it's actually gone past the migrating step, and it's gone to the Ready for Post-Migrating step. And then if I go ahead and refresh again after a period of time, it has in fact completed the migration of Joe Chen's PST file. Now what we want to do is we want to look and see what happened on the client for one of these migrations. So we'll go ahead and switch back over to our client machine. And on our client machine, we're logged in as H. Burton. And if I try to connect to H. Burton's PST file, which is here, when I click on it, I get an error that says that the set of folders cannot be opened. The file PST, H. Burton PST cannot be found. And that's a good thing, because we deleted that file as part of our PST migration file, as part of our post-processing. So now we just need to, in the Outlook profile, remove the reference to there being a Outlook data file for H. Burton. So I'll go ahead and acknowledge that warning. And then the other part of our migration policy was to create a folder for PST archives. So if I expand the PST archives folder, and then I expand the H. Burton folder, and I click on my inbox, I can see that it did in fact create the shortcuts, which is another thing that we configured on the PST migration policy, and all the files have been archived. So now H. Burton has access to all those files that used to be in a PST, and you as an Exchange administrator are no longer worried about having to back up PST files. And if you need to search it for compliance or discovery, it's now in an archive, which makes it very readily searchable based upon the indexing that occurred as part of the archiving process. And that brings us to the end of this demonstration.